Hello. Hello. I can hear me now. Welcome to Clear Waters, where the waters are clear, sometimes stinky, winky waters, but we do the best to have clear waters. Tonight, we're gonna talk about truth versus feel good. Oh man, I really like that feel good. Yes, sirree, I forgot to put my welcome message on the chat. Welcome. We're gonna talk about this God beliefs. Are they hurting us or are they helping us in humanity? Chat or call in, and we're gonna put that link from Discord in case you want to call in and have a conversation. I love to have conversations. No need to debate. If God is real, why debate? Could be quite clear, right? We're talking about the Alpha, the Omega. So there it is. My welcome message and the Discord link on both horizontal and vertical streams. For those of you that like to watch me on your TV, hi. Yes, we're gonna talk about this topic of having beliefs that could be harmful to us as human beings. Or maybe not. Maybe they can be helpful. So let's bring the music down. No waiting no more. If you're early, I'm gonna reward you by starting this presentation. No waiting. Thank you so much for being here in this live stream. I appreciate you, your presence, your views, your opinions, and of course, your beliefs. So what are we talking about here? Truth versus feel good. I know that you, if you're a believer in God, probably you have used the word truth so many times that you don't know what the meaning of truth really means. So, of course, you're watching something that looks like The Matrix. Probably you saw that movie, and probably you saw that part where Neo has to choose between knowing the truth about everything or stay in Wonderland feeling good. Well, I'm offering you right now, if you want to choose the truth pill or you want the feel good pill. But remember, choose wisely. I can only give you the real truth or the feel good. So what are you going to choose? Are you a believer in God? Are you going to choose the truth? Or are you going to choose to feel good? Javier, of course, I'm going to choose the truth. What are you thinking? Of course, I want the truth. I want to know if God is real or not. Are you sure? If it just happens that we are able to confirm that God is not real, what's going to happen to you, my friend? Do you think you can handle the truth? I don't know. I think your whole entire world will come crashing down, crash and burn. How are you going to stop this crash and burn if you find out that God is not real? So what do you want? You want the true truth, honest, real truth about reality, or you want to stay in Wonderland? Choose wisely, my friend. So, with truth, in case you choose truth, if God exists, you will know. No more guessing. No more debates. The truth. If God exists, you will know. If God doesn't exist, you will know. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If there's a heaven, you will know. If there's no heaven, you will know. Man, that's worrisome. Like myself, you know what? Man, I would like to know the truth if God is real. What happens if God is real? Did you imagine that? But wait a second. What if I find out that God is not real and this whole thing finally was made up? Man, this is really hard. It's just giving me a headache. Man, let me drop my glasses because I have to really think about this. I don't know if I want to know the truth. Imagine finding out that God is real and the guy is violent. Oh, I don't know. Where am I going to hide after creating this channel and these live streams, giving God a headache? I don't think he's going to be very happy with me. But what if we find out that there's no God? Oh, yeah. So, Javier, give me a few minutes to think about what you're proposing right now. Because show me the feel good. Well, what are you talking about? Okay, let me show you the feel good. Feel good. If you choose feel good, you will always feel peace, hope, purpose, and security, regardless of whether your beliefs are true or false. It doesn't matter if you're correct or incorrect. You will feel good about everything in life. Man, you will enjoy your life. Imagine that. So I have to choose between finding out if God is real or not. Or just leave that alone and just be happy. Just be happy. Leave God alone and just be happy. What a humongous dilemma this is. Even myself, should I choose to know finally the truth about reality? Do I really want to know the truth? What's going to happen when we die? If there's really a loving God waiting for us or not? Oh, man. I'm getting short of breath. Oh no. I don't like this dilemma. It really puts me in a corner. I don't know. Man, I got dizzy. So let's come up with different questions. If there were no promise of heaven, would as many people believe in God? Myself, I don't know about you, but I don't think so. No heaven? There's no emotional reward if there's no heaven. I think that will decrease the amount of people believing in God. If there were no fear of hell, punishment, would as many people believe in God? I don't know about you, but I think the numbers of people will continue to decrease believing in God because now there's no punishment from God. How are you going to make those people feel fear if there's no punishment? How are you going to control those people? Does hope influence what people are willing to accept as true? I think so. Yeah, definitely. Come on. Of course. And finally, can emotional benefits make a belief more attractive without making it true? And can emotional benefits make a belief more attractive without making it true? If you believe in God and you ask yourself that question, you're going to discover one thing, or you're going to remind yourself of one thing. Are you being dishonest or honest with yourself? God, sacrifice to allow the God in. Good. Secret, it's safe with me. What are my views about this dilemma, choosing truth versus feel good? I think many religious believers are choosing emotional certainty over following the available evidence. Even if they sincerely believe they're choosing truth. Yes, you repeat over and over and over and over to yourself, God is real, God is love, God is real, God is love, God is real, God is love, God is real, God is love. Keep rocking that head and repeating those words until it comes to be your truth. Ooh. Do religious believers choose truth, or do they choose what makes them feel good? Javier, don't you have nothing better to do than making me uncomfortable about my beliefs in my loving Savior? Can you do like cat videos or dog videos and leave me alone with my feelings and God? Beliefs often persist not because they have the strongest evidential support, but because they satisfy important psychological and emotional needs. Religion is one example of this. Ay, 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 ay. You know, what is my position about this truth versus feel good? Before I show you my position, what do you think? What are you thinking to yourself? Javier, of course, I'm choosing the truth. I want the truth. If you believe in a God, I don't know. Something tells me that you're not after truth, even though you keep repeating that over and over and over and over to yourself and to other people. I don't think you're after truth. But let me show you what is my position in this choosing truth versus feel good. My view is that at present, I don't think there's sufficient evidence to conclude that God, heaven, or hell exists. So, I choose to follow the evidence where it leads, even if that means giving up beliefs that might feel comforting. Yes, I remember when I used to believe in God, and that lovely feeling, I don't have it anymore. Now there's an emptiness. I have no God in my life. Choosing truth, choosing to be honest with yourself, sorry to tell you this, not necessarily is going to get you to happiness. There's an emptiness in being honest with yourself. So, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the truth? Or are you going to choose feel good? Remember, I can only give you the truth. But of course, if you believe in a God, you want absolutely nothing to do with truth because it could put you in a negative feel state, finding out that most likely there's no God and you don't want that because you are not after a God. You are after the result of believing in a God. You want those feelings being turned into good feelings. It feels great. It feels awesome. Leave me with my Lord and Savior Javier because it feels good. I don't care if it's real or not. I don't care if God exists or no. I don't care if there's a heaven or hell. I don't care. It feels good right now, sitting in front of my phone or my computer. It feels great. That is what I'm choosing right now, to feel good. In a truthful way. The truth, Javier, the truth. I have the truth. The only truth that you know is that you want to feel good. What a dilemma. What a contradiction. What a divine contradiction. That is my presentation about you choosing truth versus feel good. No, I always tell you, you can fool people. You can even fool yourself. You're not going to fool everybody. You know exactly what you're doing when you say that you believe in God and that God is real. You're doing it because of the feelings. It feels great to be one with the Alpha, the Omega, the most powerful being in the universe. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It feels great. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I envy you sometimes. I want to feel also good, but I have no God in my life. I put things in a balance. I'm like, you know what? Lie to myself in order to make myself feel good. I will have to be dishonest with myself. Am I willing to put through that? I have to be debating people and, pushing back on people telling me, Javier, you're fooling yourself. There's no God. I don't want to go through that again, man. In there, done that. I don't feel good about lying to myself just to get a good feeling. No, I think I'm going to continue living in fear and anxious and, not knowing what's going to happen. I'm not going to sell my conscience to a God just to make myself feel good. No. So in case you're wondering what is my truth then, my truth is that I don't know much about life. I have many questions. I would like to keep exploring and understanding how life works. That's my truth. I haven't come to any conclusions yet. And if there's a conclusion, is that I know little about life. Let's go to the chats to read your messages and to answer your questions. And to some of you, read about your wishful thinking and your lies lying to yourself and believing that you can lie to other people and nobody's going to notice. That's okay. You know, you can do that here. I'm patient. I'm a patient guy. I know that, you know, I don't have the solutions for life, so I don't pretend to know everything. You have to make yourself feel good somehow. You know, I can contribute for you to feel good, but don't cross that line, please. You know what line I'm talking about. So, go to the chats. Man, there's going to be blood on the chat. Mr. TP Seeker. Never mind, audio is good. Oh, okay. Thank you. Man, I didn't even notice. I gotta pay attention to the chat sometimes. People are telling me, hey, something's wrong with the live stream. Thank you, TP Seeker. TP Seeker is asking, why should God be upset over asking questions? I suspect because God doesn't like smart people and doesn't like people exploring and finding other ways to live life. I think God wants people in the book. Get your head in the book. Phantom X, because TP, he feels really stupid when he cannot answer. And feeling stupid leads to anger, and anger leads to suffering. Mr. Crypto Lee on the vertical. A soul box on the moon, you will know. For now, until I figure it out where normally came from, the feel-good peel things will become worse and possibly destroy mankind. I think, Crypto Lee, you have the wrong idea, or I have not done a good job presenting this structure about how feel operates in a human being, because I don't think what you're saying aligns with what I'm talking about. Feeling, the energy of feel. I'm talking about feelings as a way of a tool that we use as human beings. Mr. Tekken fan, doesn't it already start from a dishonest premise from the start? I don't know what reference your comment is, Tekken fan. Oh, the great Big Nick. Who said you cannot ask questions? God's laws are pretty straightforward. It's if some entity is suggesting you break them, then it's probably not God. TP Seeker, like Jesus, the Son of God. The Big Nick, Jesus reiterated all the moral laws. And Jesus never said not to ask questions. The gospel is literally Jesus answering questions for 3 years. Phantom X writes, and yet they only fit 5 to 6 hours of reading, much of which is not answers, and many of the answers given are duplicated across the Gospels. Seems like he could have spent an afternoon giving answers. I noticed something weird on the chats. TP Seeker is answering something to her say, did Jesus ever write anything? But I don't see any comments from her say 98. Can anybody tell me if her say 98 is on the chat right now? I don't know. Sometimes YouTube behaves in weird ways. Mr. Skeptic Philosophy. Mr. Robert. the great, the one and only Diva Don't Play. Javier says, I know little about life, but I know you Christians are 100% wrong. There's a hypocritical statement. Really? That's what you got from my presentation? Man, I'm doing a horrible job. Is that all you got from that presentation, Diva? Come on. Come on. The Big Nick Javier took the feel-good pill. He always feels good about his rejection of God. He does it with glee. You know, the Big Nick, I think if you can make an argument, it will be better than just trying to make fun. I think I'm trying to provide a message and try to do it in an entertaining way, not boring. I apologize if that sounds like making fun, but it's not. I think that if you believe in a God, you're doing it because of emotional reasons, not because of God. So I think it will be good if you want to engage in a conversation, if you say something about that. I feel good about doing these live streams. I feel good about asking questions. I feel good about challenging your beliefs. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I took the feel good pill when it comes to doing this live stream and asking questions. Absolutely. I can be honest about it. Can you be honest and say that you are following a God because it feels good? No. You're not going to say that. You're going to say, because I know the truth. I know that God is real. TP Seeker, Gospels written by people. Those Gospels mention how Rome and other societies praised goddesses and gods before and after people created folklores and stories. The Big Nick, if he took the truth pill, he would have to account for things like the conservation of consciousness after the death of the body. I don't know what you mean by that exactly. Phantom X writes, never heard of the law of conservation of consciousness. No need to account for that which has not been demonstrated. The Big Nick, Phantom X, the correlation between the four Gospels is an indication that there was a high degree of truth. As a believer, you're going to use that word truth like it's, I don't know, like throwing pancakes. Truth. Open your mouth. Truth. What? Truth. Open your mouth. Truth. I know the truth. The truth. There's no truth in that. Phantom X responds, not hardly. The Big Nick writes, the law of conservation of energy shows that energy cannot be destroyed, only change form. Life cannot be destroyed, only change form. The Big Nick, that sounds very sophisticated and smart. But when a loved one dies, that your comment and your explanation doesn't explain anything. Phantom X writes, consciousness uses energy. It is not energy. TP Seeker, so much for discussing God. I know. It's like making excuses and making stuff up. Expressing things that the person believes as supposedly being truth. It's a very complicated subject. Why would people lie to themselves like this openly and try to convince other people to lie to themselves too? I find it interesting that I made a presentation about a believer choosing feel good over truth. And I don't know, in the case of Big Nick, which I appreciate being here and, expressing his views, talking about something like, I don't know, so sophisticated. Um, but it's not really the topic. I think a believer doesn't like to be involved in a conversation about their feelings about God because we run into the risk of coming to the source of your beliefs, which is you, not God. Cryptoly writes, people feel good too. Interrupt your list on feel good to progress in life, and eventually everyone will follow suit just to feel good, like in the days of Noah. Seems to me, Cryptoly, that when people feel good about God, they think mistakenly that the feel good is the end, is the end result from believing in God, and it's not. That's a huge mistake. That explains why lots and many believers act like a-holes and they think they're superior to other people and they feel good about themselves. I think it offers you a distorted way of thinking, a distorted way to see life. I see it on every single live stream or experience it. Diva Don't Play Javier says he knows nobody knows or has actual truth, yet he is claiming to know that nobody knows or has actual truth, which in itself is a self-defeating argument. Diva Don't Play, we have to take this apart a little bit. What is the truth? Is there a truth about life? Because it seems to me that every time you talk about truth, you talk about your truth, which is not everybody's truth. So this is a very complicated topic to have a conversation with you with, because you are extremely biased to use words and define it in a way that align with your belief. Mr. Robert is on the Discord. Hold on. Hold on, Robert. I cannot hear you. Hey, Robert, how's it going?
Very well. Yourself, man?
Good, good, good. Did you like my presentation about the Matrix
Yes.
and the truth and feel good?
That was pretty good.
I'm having this conversation, but reading Diva's message, he says that Javier says he knows nobody knows or has actual truth, yet he is claiming to know that nobody knows or has actual truth, which in itself is a self-defeating argument. Diva takes whatever I present and makes like a big, domino scrambling thingy. And then something comes out of it that proves my presentation wrong, even when I'm not coming to any conclusions.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Uh, I,
I
I
don't know.
think I think I know why. There's a modern apologetic version of truth. Like it's a different definition than the classical kind of definition of truth. They have this like personification of truth, whereas like classical philosophy used stuff, even all the way back to Plato. It used truth as like a correspondence theory of truth. It's just that which comports with reality. So you could say we use sentences like truth as it's a value of the sentence. So if I say it's raining outside, the sentence is made true or not true in response to the reality of whether rain's falling or not outside. Whereas they think of truth as some kind of personified ether that is connected to God. like, and truth is what God is, kind of thing. It's a fairly modern apologetic view of truth. But I think that's what causes a lot of the chaos. Like, it's just like God is true, like God is love, rather than like truth is it's just a word that describes a relationship of a sentence to physical reality.
Yeah, and I think there's an irony in there because it seems to me that when a believer says truth, 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 in reality behind that truth is their feelings. Um, Diva, don't play it right, Javier. Reality is truth. And in
Okay.
reality, Jesus Christ is God. I try to keep a straight face, but I can't, Diva. I can't. This is like having a conversation. You wanna try to have a conversation with Robert about fairies
Right,
because
right.
he knows a truth about fairies that
Yes.
probably you'll be interested to have a conversation with him with.
I
Uh,
felt the fairies. I mean, I'm not going to be told that what I felt is what I felt. I know what I felt.
you know because you know. Yeah, Diva, reality is truth. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't
I
know
think
what you
it's his
mean by
way of
that.
saying he accepts the correspondence theory. Honestly, maybe I'm wrong about that, but like he's saying the physical reality is truth. I don't think that's quite right. I think truth is the it's like the virtue of a sentence. It's a characteristic of a sentence or a proposition. Like if I say a sentence and that sentence has two words that end in the same phonetics, then the sentence rhymes, right? It's a
Mm.
characteristic of the sentence. The sentence rhymes. If I make a sentence that is reflective of or representative of a thing that is in reality, then just like the sentence before rhymes, this sentence is true. Like that's just a characteristic of this statement.
Mm, I think apart from that, what Diva is really saying, but I don't think he's gonna come out openly saying this. Basically, Diva, what you're saying is my belief is the truth. What I believe is the truth. That's basically what you're saying, which in my point of view, the only value that that provides is to yourself and nobody else. I don't think there's any value for humanity in that, saying that what you believe is truth. It is your truth and your truth only, in my humble opinion.
It,
Atheism is false. Islam is false. Sometimes, Diva, I think you're not aware that us as human beings sometimes exteriorize some of our feelings and put them on other people. And what we are not able to see on ourselves, we see it on other people. And I think you're making this big mistake and not recognizing this about yourself. Go ahead, Robert.
I don't know what I was gonna say. I've always hated the word atheism myself. I think it's a stupid fucking word, and I've always hated it.
Yeah,
It's a
that's why from the beginning, people are like, "Are you an atheist?" I'm like, call me whatever you want. I don't define myself an atheist. I define myself as someone is asking questions and like to understand more about life. So you can call me whatever you want.
well, I mean, atheist just is not having a belief in the affirmative of a God. It's like we could call a lot of things in that they're without. So you could do a Farius, a Sasquatchian, a Santa Clausian. You could do over and over and over, or you could do without hobbies, right? You could do a stamp collector, all of this other list of A's, right? And that's all this is. Like it's taking the word theism and it's like without theism. So it's so weird that there is an uh, atheism. I don't know. Maybe it's not supposed to be a plural group originally. I don't know how it drifted, but like I'm okay with the word atheist in that it's one person saying, yeah, I don't believe this particular proposition. But then when you're like making a name for a collective group of people, like if I said that I was an Sasquatchian, right, because I don't believe in Sasquatch, what if we all get together as a Sasquatchianist and say that this group of a Sasquatchianism, like it doesn't, it's stupid.
Hmm. Cryptally, the way I see you, if you're asking me, okay, respectfully, I think you have one foot in one side and the other foot on the other side. I don't think you follow 100% what you're reading on a book. I think you're looking for answers also, and you're not sticking to one version about life. I don't think you accept everything explained with a God. It seems to me that you are searching also and looking for more answers. So no, I cannot put you in any category. Not that I'm trying to put you in a category. And Amos 1 writes, Diva, in reality, there's no evidence for the resurrection, just claims in a book. You know, that comment from Amos 1 makes me think about something. You know, if we want to try to use the word truth in some way, I think that someone could use the word truth in coming to the conclusion that none of us were present if Jesus resurrected. So we have to depend on what another person is going to tell us through a book. Isn't that will be closest or more accurate by saying that's a truth, true statement? We don't have first-hand account. None of us. We never witnessed Jesus resurrecting. So we have to go by what other people tell us, which they could very well be lying.
Or just wrong.
Or just
There's a
wrong.
lot of different things that they could
Yes.
be. It's weird, like things that we don't know or we are not able to test outside of religious context. Like if we make statements that they could be the case, we don't just we don't say they're true. I'll give you a primary example. There's a lot of things, and I think everybody here could agree that there's things that may very well be true that we can't know. There's just an epistemological issue and not related to religion whatsoever. Like there may be a diamond in the ground that is 3 feet by 3 feet, right? Somewhere in the ground, there may very well be a diamond that's there. Let's assume for a moment that there is. Would the average person go around saying that it's true that there's a diamond 3 feet by 3 feet in the ground? I mean, if you can't know it in any epistemological sense, let's say maybe it even is true. People don't refer to it as true because it's not in any way demonstrable. And it's just like their feelings saying that this thing is the case. Outside of the context of religion, nobody makes these epistemological kind of claims of, yes, no, this is definitely the case when the subject is outside of the scope of knowing.
Interesting.
Oh, TP Seeker said, how did Justin Martyr own that? Justin Martyr in First Apology in chapter 6, I'm sorry, this was addressed to me. He said, yes, that we are all atheists to your gods, but we are not to the one true God. So Justin Martyr used the term atheist to refer to himself and other Christians in the First Apology. I think this is about 156 is where it's dated. I think he used the word atheist probably 7 or 8 times throughout that First Apology as a reference to Christians. So yes, he totally owned the ideal of, yes, they're atheist. Not atheism, but atheist.
Amos 1 adds true, and there is only a claim, no first-hand account for the resurrection in the Bible. So we can say that the statement that we don't have first-hand account of God's resurrection is accurate. I don't know. Robert, one question: do you see her say 98 on the chat? And you know, I noticed that there was at least one person mentioning her say 98, but I don't see her. I don't know if YouTube is doing something to the live stream or to the chats.
I don't see it.
No? Okay.
I'm only on the horizontal
Horizontal.
though.
Okay. Yeah, I think only Cryptoli is down there on the vertical. Down there on the gutter.
It's all right. I mean, it's why you're in both. I mean, it might look better from a phone to be on the vertical. I would assume.
And I understand that also YouTube shows the vertical stream on the shorts section of YouTube. I'm still learning about this stuff. TP Seeker 500 mourners did not witness Jesus resurrect, leaving a tomb. They don't even know when or where the crucifixion happened. Buried in tomb. So the 500 witnesses heard the story from another person that another person told another person that told another person. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not 500 witnesses. There just isn't. It's one person saying there were 500 witnesses. He doesn't name any of them. He doesn't even group any of them. He doesn't say what city they're from. He doesn't say anything. He's just like 500 people saw this man.
So for you, Robert, is it obvious or absolutely obvious that a believer is choosing feel good over really trying to get to the truth about God?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not just me, but I feel like this subject's been well settled inside of psychology and early psychology. I mean, Sigmund Freud addressed this subject. He had a book called The Future of an Illusion. I mean, Sigmund Freud. I'm going to try to find the term while I'm talking about it, but he had the idea that this was all about desires. That all of religion was birthed kind of, and its main driver is desires. I just found it. Religion is an illusion, and it derives its strength from the fact that it falls in with our intrinsical desires. So that's what Sigmund Freud said about it. But I mean, we've had quotes from Hume and whatnot that thinks that it's compelled by future events. We're concerned. Our anxieties about future events is what drives people. It's the main driver of religion.
You know, I'm gonna dare to do a little exercise here, mental exercise. If you grab 1,000 or I don't know, 10,000 believers in God, and you're gonna try to divide them into groups who are honestly believing that there's a God and who are not interested in finding more if God is real or not. How do you think that percentage will be established? 50-50%?
I don't know.
Sometimes I have asked myself that question because sometimes it's hard for me to listen to a believer in God say the things that they say, and I'm thinking like, man, they're being honest about this. This is absolutely crazy that someone is saying this or that about God and still fight about it, even when people are telling that person, hey, you don't have evidence, you don't have nothing, and they still say things like God is real. I know because I know. I don't know, sometimes they're being honest or dishonest.
I don't know. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt as far as to what they hold. I think it's important. I think if they're being dishonest, it's not just with us. I think if they're being dishonest, it's at a very core level. It's with themselves.
If I ask the person on the live stream, which we have done many times, I ask the person, how do you feel knowing that God loves you? Once they spot when I'm going with this, they say things like, well, I like God's righteousness. And I had to ask the question again, how do you feel about being loved by God? Well, I follow God morals. I suspect that probably they know where this conversation is gonna go, and they go into dishonest mode and get into avoidance mode. That's why I ask myself this question sometimes. I think people even know what's going on, and they don't want to engage in a conversation because they run the risk of being exposed of themselves creating these feelings, this God belief. In my point of view, I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't like to jump to conclusions. It's just my experience on these live streams.
I mean, I'm quite content that people have these emotions that, like, I'll give you a primary example. Whenever I was in church and I had epilepsy at one time, whenever I was very young, I had touted that God had healed my epilepsy and that it had gone away, and it felt like that I wasn't having these blackouts as much at one time, and then I would have a blackout every once in a while, but it was like this, no, this isn't a blackout. This isn't a thing that's being caused by the epilepsy or anything, because God healed me of that. And like I would still tout that God healed me of that, knowing in the back of my head to some degree that that's not, like, I have doubts of that. I feel like something's coming back. So it's almost like people are speaking it as though it is. And I know I'm not the only one to do this kind of thing. There's a lot of people that have testified to this, that they're suggesting that, oh no, that God healed them or God took away this desire or that desire. And then later on, they've kind of admitted, yeah, it was never truly gone. I was just fighting it back and, speaking it into existence kind of thing. So I think this happens. Sometimes people are trying to deceive themselves more so than they are the people around them.
I think in a way this is like have you ever heard of, I think you have law of attraction?
Love attraction.
Law of attraction.
Oh yeah, law of attraction. Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to repeat things and try to convince yourself about changing your reality. I think in a way probably some believers or a lot of believers are trying to do the same thing, and they call it belief or faith, God,
Yeah.
trying to convince themselves that God is real and God is love. Which I see it as a form of law of attraction.
Hmm.
Cryptoly
Yeah.
is asking you, Robert, what is the consensus on where morality came from? Just
Oh,
curious.
there's never going to be a consensus on it, but I think what we generally refer to in the more academic fields will not be morality as much as it is altruism or an altruistic behavior. It's a type of reciprocal behavior that is rewarded inside of a group. So if you have something like a wolf, for example, and I'll give you the evolutionary benefits of it. How about that? If you have a wolf that can have up to 3 other wolves running with it, and then at that point they begin to fight so much. One moment, I gotta grab a plate of food here.
Hmm?
If they begin to fight so much that they break down their group coherency, cannot get above 3 wolves, let's say, for example, compared to a group that can have coherency up to 5 or 6 wolves, and they don't fight. They can get along enough that they can get up to 5 or 6 wolves. It's more beneficial for them to have behaviors and whatever their group dynamics is inside of there, whether they have an alpha wolf that is kind of keeping control of things or whatever. If their group dynamics can allow for more wolves and a stable relationship between them that they can hunt as a pack, then there's going to be a benefit to them to just work as a larger social group, if that makes sense. So whatever social cohesion model is going on is being rewarded inside of that group. So when we think about early humans, if we're able to get bigger and bigger tribes, it's because of our social behaviors are allowing those tribes to become larger and larger, if that makes sense. And I think it's slowly but surely being rewarded. The tribes that can't have more than 5 or 6 people before they're at one another's throat winds up failing, whereas tribes that can reach 20 or 30 people or 40 people and still retain a social order, then they're going to be rewarded.
What about those Indian tribes that still walk around with their breast uncover in morals.
Well, it doesn't seem to be hurting their social order, and subsequently, they don't tend to think of it as a moral problem. But there's a like this has been written on a long time ago. I'm trying to think of the gentleman that was cited in Totems and Taboos from Sigmund Freud. There's another gentleman that wrote on the subject of like this interaction between people. But there's this term now in modern evolutionary studies on the subject of altruism is it's called the green beard effect, and they have green beard effect simulators. I encourage everybody to watch a video on what's called a green beard simulator, which will show how if a particular genetic structure wants to show more morality to people who look like them, that will be more and more rewarding to that group, even if they do so at the cost of sometimes losing their own life, if they're extending that morality to others in the same group.
And Crypto Lee, you got your answer, and a very good one. What do you mean by that, Crypto Lee? So safe to say one wolf chose a god? What do you mean by that, Crypto?
I don't know what that means.
Diva Don't Play saying that if you believe atheism is the truth of reality, then stick with that. Blessing. And Amos 1, good luck trying to convince Diva to have a conversation. Not to convince him, to have a conversation.
when I say dishonesty, like we have thoroughly explained, like that atheist is just a position of that I don't accept this proposition. So he still uses this as if you believe atheism is the truth of reality. So he already knows that no atheist ever says that. Like that's not, no atheist ever says that atheism is the truth of reality. It's simply an answer to a question. So in this case, when people do this, I think there's something intrinsically dishonest about like him making statements like this and people that do this. Like they try to create a framework and say, oh, you believe in atheism like a religion or something like this. I think these people are, and there's no nicer way to say it, they're lying. They're very intentionally lying. And I don't know if they're trying to do this to themselves, put it in their own head. Oh, no, they're following a false god. Or if they're just outright know that they're lying. I don't know.
Well, what do you think, probably in the case of Diva saying these things, what do you think he's trying to achieve optimally? By what in my opinion is obviously, or very obviously, he's being not transparent and honest. I think he's trying to achieve something by saying these things.
Group retention or retention of his own position. Like if you're trying to retain your own position without giving up any ground, then there's certain things you'll say to try to isolate that and give it retention. So I'll give you a primary example. We actually see this is actually used all the time in the movie industry towards children about the subject of Santa Claus. And I'll give you a primary example for that. What happens is when theists engage with us and they say something like, well, you just hate God, for example, and they'll put that on to the atheist, and no atheist is hating God. They just don't believe there is one. But they argue that position for the same reason that when we watch Santa Claus movies like Miracle on 31st Street or the Santa Claus with the Scott Calvin character, there's this dynamic that the movie writers are trying to create for the children, that adults are just upset or hurt by Santa Claus, that they didn't get a certain thing. And this happens all the time. I'm trying to think of the guy that does the beef commercial, the like beef, it's what's for dinner. He has the Sam Elliott, I think is his name. He has one also that, oh, he's just jaded is why he doesn't believe in Santa Claus, right? The whole narrative of all these Christmas stories about adults are trying to say that they're just upset because it's a way to explain to the children that are watching the movie why adults don't believe in it. And it's a way to retain the children to continue to believe it against the objections of older brothers and people who say, no, I don't believe this anymore. So I think the method is used in the movie industry. It's used in religious industry. Yeah, it's Sam Elliott. I'm sorry, I got the name wrong. But this is yeah, this is over and over. It's a type of retention method that I think is very well known in psychology, to try to make sure that you keep the people in your group, and you give explanatory value for the people outside of your group why they don't believe it. It's just they're jaded.
You don't think that he's trying to get you in a negative feel state?
I don't know if he is or not. I mean,
Yeah, if it's
maybe.
one of the things that I've noticed, by doing these live streams, when a believer gets upset because you don't believe what they believe, they're gonna go into offensive mode. And I think what they're trying to do is get you in a negative feel state.
Well, I don't like his chances.
Yeah, I think most believers know what's going on behind the curtain, because when the thing gets tough, they're gonna go into emotional mode attack and try to get you to feel bad. Hopefully, so you can slow down whatever you're saying, or to distract you, or to change your conversation.
Derail.
Derail. Yes, this
Yeah.
is this is
Yeah,
a
probably.
very sneaky tactic. All those times that the believer tell you, you're gonna go to hell, or you're gonna meet God, and you're gonna find out. Negative feel state. Something negative. Emotionally. Try to get you emotionally fearful or something like that.
Yeah. Over
Mm,
and over, it makes me think less. Anyone that tries to appeal to me like of a truth statement for an emotional reasons, I think less of the proposition. Like if I tried to convince you, let's do the fairies thing for just a moment. If I tried to convince you that there were fairies, and I tried to appeal to you in an emotional sense and say, but like believing in these fairies, like they made me feel so good inside, Um, I got off of drugs after I started believing in fairies, like my mother, I feel like she's with the fairies in a better place. If I started doing all these things to try to appeal to you through emotions to believe in fairies, either you're of the predisposition that these emotions appeal to you, and that you, oh yeah, I want to go towards this because this looks like this feels good, or you're not concerned about emotions when determining what reality is. And I think that people think because they're concerned about emotions when they're determining what reality is, they think everybody else should be also.
mm. Um, I think Diva is giving us another example of what we're talking about. He says, Javier, what other possibility is there then? A creator exists, or a creator doesn't exist? What other option is there? So this is an attempt to do the same thing, to get into an emotional state. The God of the Bible has to be real. Otherwise, nothing makes sense. The creator, no creator exists. Probably there are two creators. Probably, like I said before, we're created by aliens. Maybe
Anunnaki.
intergalactic company that creates humanoids made us. There could be so many explanations about reality, about humanity, about creation. But it seems to me you're choosing the one that aligns with your belief. The creator of the universe, the God of the Bible. I have no idea how the God in the book jumped out of the book, created the universe, and got in again inside the book. I don't see it possible. If there's one thing that you can think of, Robert, that is something of weight, something logical, that is in the favor of the believer in the God of the Bible, what can you think of?
Um, I guess the God of the Gaps argument is the most seen and known and applicable. Like, if you don't know, therefore there's room for me to posit my proposition. So it's not a good argument. It doesn't mean that like their proposition is true, but it does mean that there's always area open for propositions to be inserted, right?
Hmm.
So if you say something like, well, you don't know how the universe got here, I do, God did it, the flying spaghetti monster did it, whatever else you want to posit there. The admission of someone not knowing how a thing happened is an open gap to some degree for people to make other propositions. It doesn't mean that they're more viable than all the other propositions you could stick in there.
And something happened to the vertical stream. If you're on the vertical stream right now, I know it's glitching. I have no idea why that happens. Very sporadically, it comes back by itself. I don't know if you can hear me, but I wrote on the chat. Something broke. And move to the frontals. Oh, there it is. It's back. Oh, Diva is clarifying. Didn't say that God of the Bible specifically. I said creator or not creator. Aliens will be a creator. Two gods will be a creator. Give me a third option. Maybe the universe is infinite, always been.
I'm going to grant you the point on that. I'll say that the proposition is either in the affirmative or the negative. It's either a one or a zero. There either is or there isn't what we would traditionally refer to as a creator. That's fine. That's an ontological question. It's not an epistemological question. And this is the distinction between what is or the isness of the universe as to what we can know, like, and what constitutes knowledge. So the you saying that it either is this or is that, it doesn't mean anything because there are some questions that the question itself is beyond our ability to know in any sense. So this is why people use the term agnostic. It is not a subject of whether they believe or they don't believe or they're on the fence. Agnostic is simply that they take the position that it is not knowable. And that's kind of the end of the subject for a genuine agnostic. So we cannot know it, whether it is zero or one, but we don't have a reason to believe it in the affirmative that there is a one. Or I would say not a compelling reason anyway. I mean, I think all things, as I've mentioned before, all things are evidence, but they're evidence to a tiny degree. Like you could put everything that you have on the scale as far as there being a God, as far as I'm concerned, and I think you would probably reach 0.5. So not even a 1% for me to get me towards being convinced.
Nicholas Holier writes, if the universe has a beginning and that's the general consensus, wouldn't there have to be something eternal to cause it?
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't come to any conclusions with that information. And besides that, coming to a conclusion is attached with all kinds of other doctrines. No, I don't see a beneficial coming to a general consensus and not be sure about something that affects our life in such a big way. When it comes to things like this, I prefer to have some deep knowledge, or some general consensus that I have to accept. I think that Nicholas Holier, in the times of the pandemic, COVID-19, the general consensus apparently in medicine was to not treat people that got COVID-19 and among doctors or hospitals or whatever. And I don't think nothing good came out of that. I don't know about you, but I learned my lesson. I learned many lessons in COVID-19 pandemic. Amos 1, there's no evidence for a start to the universe. Nicholas Hollier, Jesus is the creator of the universe. No, Nicholas Hollier, Jesus is not the creator of the universe. That's what you believe. You can copy paste that same sentence, but add the word, I believe Jesus is the creator of the universe. And then I'll say, okay, I respect your belief. But if you want to not include those words in order to clarify your statement, then I will tell you, I will push back on your statement and tell you Jesus is not the creator of the universe. Jesus is God. Nicholas Hollier, no, Jesus is not God. Diva, don't play. Javier, right. If the universe was eternal, then what would be no creator? So again, give me a third option to creator or not creator. It will be interesting to know what you're trying to get to, Diva, so we don't play games.
It's a joke. It's all just a joke, and it's so laughable at this point. I have to say, like, now that we know that there was an event of expansion, doesn't mean that that's how the universe began, right? The energy could have existed infinitely, if you want to use that term, outside of time. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but let's say that energy could have existed there forever. This is simply the point of expansion. That's all this is. It's a point of expansion. So, hey, Professor Hazel, how's it going, man? So it's really just saying that the expansion had a beginning. That's all it's saying, not that the universe had a beginning. But what's hilarious about this to me is, for I don't know how many thousands of years before we actually knew the Big Bang, before we knew that the Big Bang was a thing, Christians were completely content that God was the creator of the universe, didn't know anything about the universe having a beginning, and had the idea that the universe, in some sense, was forever. And they were completely content with believing that there was a God. So we don't even have a space that it doesn't prove that there's a God. What we have is Christians will be like, oh, the universe didn't have a beginning. Oh, this proves there's a God. Oh, it changes in the universe. Oh, it did have a beginning. Oh, this too proves that there is also a God. Like, there's not even a counterfactual. Everything means there's a God to them. It doesn't matter what the state is. It doesn't matter what the transition is. It's all proof that there is what they want.
Professor Hazel, welcome. Amos 1, the consensus of the universe so far is expansion happened, and that it was not the start of the universe. The universe could very well be breathing, probably expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. We don't know that. There's so many things that we don't know. I think that attempting to explain everything with one of these currently available invisible gods, I don't know, a little bit arrogant for my taste.
I'll give you another option, Diva. Diva keeps asking for another option, a creator or not a creator. I'll give you another option. A creating process that is systemic, that gives rise to things that appear to be created by intelligence but isn't intelligence. It's a systemic process, such as a snowflake falling and going through different pressures and atmospheres, and the diffusion of that water happening at different points along that crystallization. And it appears when it lands that it's designed. It has an inherent designed look. It looks like it's created, and it is in some sense created systemically, but not by a creator, by a system or process. So there's something that's being created, so to speak, but it doesn't have a creator. So if you can, it doesn't have an intelligent creator, but it has a process that gave rise to it. So do you call that a creator because it's a process and it doesn't have a mind?
So maybe we conclude that there's a creator, just to satisfy your question. And maybe that creator is mean, is evil. I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to get with this creator, not creator. I don't know if that proves to you that the God of the Bible is real. There are so
What's
many
that?
questions.
I got a in all caps. What's the evidence for that opinion? I mean,
Option.
you can for that option. Okay, I'm sorry. You can easily look up how snowflakes form. I mean, if that's what you're asking, you can easily look up. I mean, we've been able to recreate the environment that forms a snowflake. So I don't know what this is about. But it's not the only thing that we have that appears designed that arises through natural processes. I mean, the Giant's Causeway does these hexagonal shapes that form through a repetition of heating and contracting, and it winds up building shapes that are just the most sufficient geometrical shape, and it winds up making these hexagonal patterns that builds in stone like shelves, and we call it the Giant's Causeway. Over and over, they have these things that kind of happened. They're emergent. And if you want to look up terminologies, you can look up emergent design or emergent fractal geometry. You can look up, like, there's literally thousands of papers on this subject about things that emerge through processes that appear like they're designed. I'll give you another one is pyrite. Sometimes pyrite has atomic structures and lattices that form that make it look exactly like a perfectly formed cube. So you can look up perfect square pyrite cubes. They form naturally. They're not designed, but they're a cube.
What about speakers? What about that test that you put a speaker on their like a table and they put sand and he makes beautiful different
Right.
designs. So I
Yep. There
guess
you
the
go.
speaker will be a creator.
Yeah, you also get, and we get a lot of moving phenomenon that's like not a solid object, like you just mentioned, that it's a part of motion or interaction of like frequencies. One of them is speaking of frequencies, there's one called the pendulum. Uh, it's the pendulum swing. There you go. That they do like 8 pendulums that swing at the same time, and they're all different lengths, and they'll wind up creating interesting geometry. So one of them actually looks like a double helix from a DNA. If you see, I'll try to find a link for one. But these are things that are created because the rules that are governing them are the different lengths of them, and they create a frequency that looks like it's making designs, but it's just emergent. It's not. There's not an intelligent person making them.
So it seems to me that everything starts from a lack of knowledge of what's going on with the universe, how the universe comes to be. I think it's just a big question mark. If you come to the conclusion in your belief that there's a God and a creator, and you put the name the God of the Bible, I mean you're gonna try to move everything around in order to align whatever you put your hands on and align it with your belief and try to convince people that your belief is correct, which I think you're extremely far away from proving anything. You cannot even prove that there's a God, a creator. We don't have any information about a creator. um I would recommend, if you're listening to what Ray Comfort is saying, he likes to say in his script that there's a scientifically impossibility that something comes out of nothingness. I think he just lacks understanding about life and creation, and but he doesn't care. He made up something, he put it on a script, and he tells this to everybody like if it's truth when it's not. I think in order to call something truth, you have to demonstrate something, you have to prove something. My recommendation for anybody that believes in a God, in order to be taken a little bit more seriously about what you have to say, stop using the word truth, because your truth is not truth. Doesn't matter how many times you repeat it. Hey, Phantom.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good.
Why is my name wrong?
I put a link there. I don't have a mod or anything like that, but there's a link to one of the pendulum waves. But I encourage everybody to look up a pendulum wave. They're great videos on the subject.
I actually, speaking of not having moderator status, Is there any way you could create a second voice channel and give and not have it listed by the roles? Because someone tried to get in the voice channel to voice chat the other day, and they couldn't speak. But if you create a second channel and just let anyone do it, it won't affect your stream, but people will be able to voice chat.
Oh, because of I had to do it manually to allow them to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so create a second voice channel and don't apply the restrictions.
Yeah,
There you go.
I
exactly.
can do that. Can do that. I'll do it after the live stream so I don't affect anything on the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
What's up, fam?
Oh, not much. How are you?
Mr.
Chilling.
Darth Gently. Welcome.
Oh, Darth Gently's a good person.
Does he use
83
profanity? Does he have a
2020.
potty mouth?
Does Darth? I don't know. I've never seen him on on.
Well,
a
then
panel
don't
before.
go saying he's a good person if you don't know if he has a
Oh,
potty
you're
mouth.
right. You're right. I forgot that is the main
Yes,
criteria by which
that is the metric by which all are measured.
83 2020. Yeah, Ray Comfort is a businessman. I think he's in the business of selling God and salvation. He's one of the person that inspired this channel. This
Yeah.
channel is called Living Waters. Mine is called Clear Waters.
Hell yeah.
I got tired of complaining on his videos. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own channel. Darth is decent. I don't remember seeing Darth Gently on the live stream before, but welcome. 8+1 Ray Comfort is a joke. Man, he's a businessman. He's making the big bucks.
I mean, you know, it just goes to show you that when you have God behind you, you can make some bank on that.
I can
Doesn't
ask
matter.
I can answer Diva's question here. He's asking other people, but I don't mind answering it. He says, is your human body and especially your eye more intelligently designed to work compared to items that we create? No, I mean, we actually create things that actually fix the eye, such as glasses, you know? So even them have their failures. There's so many different problems with the eye. Like we actually see everything that comes in through the lens upside down and our brain converts it. Not to mention nearsightedness, farsightedness. That I mean, there's a lot of good about the eye. There's
The argument that we see things upside down has never made sense to me. I mean, like, what difference does that make?
right. I know. I would see maybe not is the best word, but the light that comes in and hits the receptors hits them in an averted position.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still like I've never understood why that's something that gets brought up at all. It seems like a silly polemic to me.
Well, if you're going to design something, that's not generally like how we think of things as far as the top down, as far as design. That wouldn't particularly make any sense to start that way.
Don't cameras do that though?
I don't think so.
Huh. I thought I'll have to look.
Well, I don't know if they have a secondary lens. Well, I guess it would depend if they have a secondary lens or just one primary. Yeah, and the more I think about that, I don't know the answer to that. But nonetheless, we have transitions from eyes that transition
All
slowly
right.
but surely.
So I just did a search. Because of basic optical physics, every camera lens projects an upside down and reversed image onto the film plane.
Okay.
So there you go.
All righty. All right.
83 2020. I'm in the USA South, and he's like some hero to everyone. I think you're referring to Ray Comfort. If you are, probably he's a hero to everyone that believes in God in reference to Christianity.
Now Atmos does bring up one that I think is really, really a killer, and that's that our optical nerve is inside the eye and has to go through the back of the eye,
Yeah.
leading to us having blind spots. Cephalopods don't have that. Their optical nerve is outside the eye, so they don't have blind spots. Like, what's going on, God? Why'd you do that to us? Aren't we your favorites?
Yeah,
You want us to be blind? Actually, that makes sense.
Tubular eyes, like owl eyes and stuff, seem to be more efficient too.
Professor
Darth Gently
Hazel.
says he's the most high, but he's wrong. Snoop Dogg is the most high.
Professor Hazel writes, wait, the photo chips provide far more resolution than the human eye. The human eye is pretty flawed, and it doesn't look designed by an intelligence.
Yeah, but I think the alternative is Diva doesn't understand. Diva doesn't understand what the alternative is because Diva's never tried to understand what evolution is. So Diva doesn't know like iterations being rewarded that slowly but surely build. So that's the problem. Like to him, it's like, is it designed versus random junkyard throwed it together? You know?
And when they do that, a tornado coming through a junkyard and assembling a 747, I say, well, that's not a good analogy. A good analogy is we see airplanes reproducing with variation, and there happens to be a niche for a 747.
Love you long time, love you long time. Thank you for the hearts.
I do the same thing with the watchmaker argument. When they bring up watches, I was like, okay, but if everything we saw was watches, and some watches were different than others, and we saw them reproducing and the reproducing watches were slightly different. Like we would never think a watch is natural at that point,
Right.
or what is created. We would think, oh, that's just how watches come around.
Yeah, I mean, we're a biological organism created by a biological process. Why would it make sense that we have to be able to create something that was created by the same biological process that we're created by? I don't understand. The problem is that Diva doesn't know evolution. He doesn't even know what the evolutionary model is. He's like, it's wrong, but he doesn't know what it is. So if you want to do something as a project, Diva, literally look up how the eye evolved and actually watch a video, and you'll understand those iterations and that we have each one of those cycles and steps still around in the world, such as the Nautilus eye that does not have the film that covers it, and fluid goes in and out of the eye.
Does that information aligns with his belief? No, he's not gonna research it.
Right.
You know, Diva, when you say me stuff about God, I look at the videos, I go read the Bible verses. I don't think you do the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't need a creator to create. I mean, when you hear wind blow and it howls at the edge of the building and it makes a sound, you'll say terms like it created a sound, but you don't say, oh, the wind creator created the sound. Like you admit that these are natural processes that created the sound. So it's weird for people to like hang up on this and use these terminologies like, oh, if something's created, there's a creator. It implies an intelligence. And like, it doesn't. Like you can have a hole and you can be like, what created this hole? Like processes could have made that hole. Erosion. You don't need a person to make the hole. Processes brought forth the hole.
You know, what's the most problematic thing, Diva, coming up by saying that you need a creator? You make it the creator of the universe and make it your personal God creator. That's a wild thing to say and do with a God. A God is outside the universe, he's outside time, and at the same time have a personal relationship with this God. I think that when you say things like this, or you believe in things like this, it seems to me that you are not presenting yourself in a serious way. So when you try to come up with something that tries to sound logical, you really have a hard time trying to convince anyone of what you're saying. You're getting yourself into dilemmas.
All caps, God is my Father. Hallelujah.
This is exactly what I mean. God is my Father.
So I have one last thing to say about the eye, and this is the thing that makes me like I makes it like completely baffling to me why it keeps getting brought up, and that is Darwin used the eye specifically as an example of a potential counter argument, and explained all the steps to get to an eye from a photosensitive patch of cells, all of which we have examples for. Like, he debunked your argument before you made the argument, and you're still making it 150 years later.
Yeah. I don't think he understands iterations. It's just the problem. Like, there's the biggest chunk of understanding evolution. Like, he doesn't know what it means. Darwin believed God existed. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's an admission actually in his autobiography. But do you know in his autobiography why he said that he counts himself among theists? I hope you actually know why Darwin said it. Darwin said in the statement that he said that it may be as natural for humans to believe that there is a creator as it is for monkeys to hate snakes. He suggested that it was a part of their build. He didn't know about genetics, but a part of their structure, a part of their mind. In the same way that monkeys come to hate snakes, he suggested that humans may not be able to have a choice, but to want to believe. And subsequently, I count myself among them. So this was his argument.
God the fraud. Welcome to the live stream. Your water's goat. I have a golden clear water idol in my closet that I worship every Sabbath.
His autobiography, not his book. It was an autobiography of him.
Yeah, what's weird about that is Diva is like undercutting his own argument. If Darwin believed in God, that God exists, and believed in evolution,
right,
you can do both. Like, okay, that just shows that evolution doesn't disprove God. I don't think any of us are saying that is the case.
Yeah,
we're
no
saying,
one said that.
We're saying you're wrong for not agreeing with it, but we're not saying that's anything to do with atheism. Like that's just a non sequitur. And I use that word that you don't like. Sorry, Robert.
Oh, a non sequitur? No, I don't care.
No, atheism.
Atheism.
Oh, you bastard!
Oh, and you used the naughty word again.
Oh, shoot. Poopy doo.
Oh, Professor Hessel.
I would respectfully disagree with you on that, by the way, Robert, because like it does provide semantic clarity. Atheism does. Well, okay. So kind of. It at least provides semantic communication, because the norm is to be a theist. So there is that. Like if 90% of the world were stamp collectors,
right.
A stamp collecting would be a reasonable thing to have a label for.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's only in contrast of the phenomena that there's so many people doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I would fully expect that no one would ever do that if theism goes away.
But that would account for the word like a stampist or some. I forget. Hizzle knows the word for a stamp collector. I bet he knows the coin collector one. But that would be like that group. It wouldn't say that like an ism. It wouldn't create a set.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But words don't, like, etymology of words doesn't mean that's what the words are used.
Sure.
We all know what atheism means.
Professor Hazel. Yeah, we don't have a restriction here. We just try to keep it, try to keep it respectful. And you can say your words, but try not to.
Well,
that was an inside joke. He didn't know the inside joke.
Yeah, it's a joke on Diva because he's been calling out Robert for using crude language.
Yeah, Professor Hazel, you can express yourself here. You can tell us your views. Someone here tells you something, you can get back to that person with, your arguments. your opinions, your views. But we try to not use cuss words. I know that sometimes there are people under kids under 18 here, so we try to keep it respectful. No restrictions. Just try to keep it respectful. Diva don't play. Is right. I believe in microevolution, not microevolution, not macroevolution. I don't believe in evolution as an origin. No evidence for that. That's only a philosophy of science. So you don't believe in macroevolution, but you do believe in a God with no evidence.
It was confirmed that it's called a philatelist. I think that's for the non-stamp collector. So an aphilatelist. Thank you, Hizzle.
Man, a what?
I don't know. It a person specifically.
Oh,
that collects-
philatelist. Yes.
Yeah, philatelist. Yeah,
And I'm gonna
They
remind
love
myself.
telling cysts.
yeah. So an aphilatelist would be. I don't know. That would be like without collecting stamps. I guess. I guess that's solid. I guess that works.
An aphilatelist sounds like a marsupial in Australia.
For anybody that doesn't know, a philatelist is a collector and student of postage stamps and postal history.
All right. Spreading the truth. Little useful knowledge.
Hey,
Little
Hazel.
useful knowledge.
Hey guys, no, I just had to clear it up. It's philatelicist.
Philatelicist.
No,
Phil?
it's philatelist.
That's coins.
We've already got that.
Phil
It's
is
established.
people.
It's established.
Phil is people, and tel is communications. So yeah,
Okay.
philatelicist. Yeah, an aphilatelicist. Yeah,
A
somebody
philatelist.
who doesn't, or a numismatist for
Coins.
Coins. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just had to.
What if you collect both?
Then you would be both. You would be a philatelicist and a numismatist.
There's not a word for just collecting those things.
Old man. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We call it a. Are you ready for it? This is going to blow your mind. We call it a collector.
Yes. A collector. Yes. No.
Hey,
No. I just.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I just came in to clear that up. But no, you guys have a great time. If you're on for a little while, I may come back in. But yeah, no. Nice to see you, Javier. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to
All right,
see you,
man.
Hazel.
You too, Hazel.
Yep. See ya.
Deepa don't
Hazel's going to
play.
be on a show with me next Sunday. Or not? Yeah, this coming Sunday.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
put my notification on see that episode. You do the what is it called? Like premiere or something like that you can get notified.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn on notifications. It's at 3:00 Central Standard Time every Sunday. I have different hosts, different guests on. The first Sunday of the month, so I try to have it open so that anybody and everybody can come in and chat. Theist or otherwise, you are definitely welcome to come by.
If it was important, Christ would have clearly taught it to people many times, but he did it 0 times.
Right, it's like driver's ed. Like, it's not important because Jesus taught it 0 times. Open and shut case, driver's ed, no need to do it.
So, yeah, I mean, like, germ theory isn't important.
Right, no, Jesus would have
Oh.
at least covered it once.
So for anybody out there that is a believer, as a YouTuber, interested in learning and understanding more about life, I'm still waiting for anybody that can present any evidence for a God, any God. If you have something, please don't be selfish, share it. I would like to know if there's a God out there.
Said that, by the way. I didn't see it in the side chat. That if it was important, Jesus would have covered it at least once.
Where is her say 98?
Hope she's okay.
Man, she's always here. I don't know what happened.
Oh, that was Big Nick. Okay, all right. I didn't know who said it. I just knew how unbelievably ridiculous that statement is. Like, of all the things that I could name that we commonly think of as important, like Jesus never said like one single time. Not once. Like Jesus never said to don't grape. I don't want to use the word here for YouTube. Jesus never said stay in school or even go to school, right? Never said
yeah,
don't do drugs.
he said to sell all your belongings.
Right. Sell all your belongings. Follow me. Forget school. Why would that be a thing? You can even go a step further. Not only did he not say don't do drugs, but like the people that will argue the temple verse and be like, oh, that's the temple of God, don't defile the temple. Like Jesus refuted that term and said that call not what goes into the body unclean, but that which comes out of it, right, defiles the temple. So like drugs going in the body doesn't defile the temple. I mean, I offer you up Jesus' own words for this.
I mean, I always thought that was like bad like food handling advice.
Yeah, it was about food.
And I was like, well, that doesn't really work because.
But I mean, like, food and drugs, it could easily cover both. Easily cover both.
Hey, Crypto Lee, yeah, that I don't know what happened to the vertical stream. It broke there like for 2 minutes. Not ignoring your messages. I didn't notice you were asking a question.
Oh, I've got some verses. I need to look these verses up.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just golden.
Nicholas Hollier.
I've got my big book of atheisms.
Nicholas Hollier wants to debate Big Nick. Are you guys believers?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're having an internal scuffle about something, but I don't know what.
Debate me. And what
you can call in if you want and have a conversation. It will go way faster.
Do y'all remember who the guy was that wanted to debate me? Was it this Nicholas Holler guy, or who wanted to debate me? What was it about?
Man, I don't remember.
Yes,
we never got anything on the book. Like, could we do something on the book if this is the guy?
Nicholas Hollier. An internal scuffle is a good way to put it.
Nicholas, are you the one that wanted to debate me about a subject?
I can see if it's in my logs, Robert.
They were over on the other chat, I think, and Javier was just telling me about it.
Oh, I may not have it then.
What is it, Phantom?
Oh, I keep logs of chats that I'm in case I ever need to reference them. But if I wasn't in the chat, I wouldn't keep that log.
TP Seeker, it's why I study the book so much. Like it allows me to have an external and an internal critique, and the internal critique is just hilarious to see how many Christians disagree with their own book.
Oh, I guess Nicholas is either Orthodox or Catholic, because Big Nick is taking issue with Nicholas following the Church Fathers.
Oh, the Church Fathers. Oh, yeah, the Church Fathers. What's weird is like modern Christians and their distinction from like Church Fathers. So we've had many writers of the Church Fathers that have talked about the subject of slavery, like all the way up to what's the Calvin guy, John Calvin. John Calvin gives a whole argument of like why slavery is okay in the time, and that it was totally acceptable. So now what happens is modern apologists read the text and they say, yeah, you atheists, you're interpreting it wrong, you're misunderstanding it. But if we go back to early church fathers and see how they interpreted it, no, we're dead on with the early church fathers. Like they are the ones that have a new interpretation of it.
Well, but the early church fathers, as we are learning from Big Nick, those guys are wrong.
Oh.
Just as a reminder, this live stream is brought to you by the Feel Good Company. Where good
Hell yeah.
feelings are guaranteed. We have the God that you're looking for. And for everybody that has subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. Only do it, please, if you find something of value in these videos, in this channel. Thank you so much.
Let's see here. Sorry, I need to mute.
Muted, man.
Hey,
I love
Cryptoly,
the meme.
we also have pending a conversation about the different scenarios of the feel good. But not at the end of the live stream. You can call anytime and talk about this subject. Talking about different feel states.
No, I was I don't remember if I read it somewhere or I heard I subscribe to a few scholar channels and they talk about different things from the early church fathers and stuff. And I think it was actually from a video. I don't believe I read it, but they were talking about the first time that the book of James and Second Peter ever showed up in any literature was Origen was made a quote from I think James is. So Origen's fairly late, and James was like being contested in the Eusebius and the early church fathers. They didn't want the book to go in there. I'm only mentioning all this because Nicholas mentioned that they're the ones that created or they put the list together, and I agree. They are the ones that put the list together. There are people that were more influential on that selection than others. Saint Ignatius, I think that's how you say his name, Athanasius. He pushed a lot of the books like James, like Second Peter, for them to be included, as well as Revelation, which wasn't called that at the time; it had another name. But yeah, he's probably the main reason that those books actually made it into the canon, against the objection of many.
Do you know who God Logic is, Robert?
I've saw some of his videos. I'm not particularly impressed with him, but yeah. He does this weird argument. Yeah, what's he talking about?
No, I think that Diva take notes from God Logic.
Oh, is that what it is?
And Diva takes notes from God Logic, Ray Comfort, Front to Rec, William Lake Craig. But I have listened to a few of God Logic's debates. I don't know. I think it's a thing of taste. I think it's a complete waste of time.
Whoa, Big Nick with that vocabulary. No one's going to trust that anything you say is true if you use words like that.
Well, only Diva will have a problem with it.
He's damning right and left. And I think Big Nick is having a problem with Nicholas Hollier.
Yeah, Christians do this. That's their favorite game, to fight with one another. It's cool by me. I like to watch it. I mean, I think Nick is the bigger person here. It's in his name. But Nick, if I'm to be honest, I think Nicholas is holier than you are on this subject. So I don't know which one to go with. I was going to lean your way, Big Nick, but then you said those words, and I was like, no, he's a potty mouth.
I wonder, as a believer, which pill would you take? The truth pill or the feel-good pill?
How do you know that the feel-good pill isn't the truth?
And I forgot to cycle through the presentation.
Oh, dodge the question if you want then, Javier. Okay, I see.
Oh, that question was for me?
Yes.
I'm
How
sorry.
do you know that the feel-good pill isn't the truth?
Mm,
Mm.
that sounds like the questions I presented, more or less.
Okay,
I
let's do it.
presented 4 questions that pretty much are asking the same thing you're asking me.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Are you really expecting an answer from me, Robert?
No.
I don't want to be rude.
Like if you have an answer, I mean, by all means. But I think the pills are more so representing why you pick a thing rather than the ontology of the thing that you picked. Like, is it? It could both be true and be feel good, right? I think we both could accept that that's possible, but it's the motivation of why you selected the thing that we're concerned with.
I think a believer takes the feel good pill and call it the truth.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. I mean, it's a great deal, right? It's the best retirement plan ever in the history of the universe, right? It's not just an average retirement plan. You get streets literally made of gold, right? You get like gates of diamond, like you live there forever. You never hunger, you never thirst, you feel good. Like it's the perfect retirement plan. Who wouldn't want this?
I mean, pretty much what God doesn't fix.
It's just amazing. Like there's no better word to describe it than it's awesome, bro. It's bodacious.
Oh, look who's here. Hersey 98. I was asking for you. Hersey 98. I was worried.
Heathens and scoffers. I like it.
And Nicholas Holier and the Big Nick. I don't know what you guys are talking about or what for. Trying to
Well,
prove the other one incorrect or what?
I know that there's some relation between John 8 and 40. That's all I know. That's verse has come up several times already. I think I'm getting the feeling that it might be about the Trinity. Is this about the Trinity? I have to ask. Can we just get a straight answer if this is about the Trinity?
Creep totally. I always thought moral laws were tied to the 10 Commandments. I don't think so.
Okay, it is about the Trinity. It is about the Trinity. Okay, I've decided who I back on the subject. Big Nick, 100%. The Trinity is an absolute lie. It's absolutely transposed. It's a post-textual invention that went back and tried to use particular verses to try to gratify and justify the Trinitarian position. Trinity is an absolute lie, and it's nowhere in the original text.
What do you think motivated them to create this Trinity? What for?
I think they were trying to do a few things. They were trying to rectify how different people referred to and used different terminologies. I think they had adopted the ideal of Jesus as God, which we don't really see in Justin Martyr by even 156. So we got, I think with these ideas started coming that Jesus was God, and they started marking people as a heretic. And then they needed a full Trinitarian model to try to kind of break it all down and rectify the terms. But I think Matthew probably, if I had to guess, me and Dr. Kurtz talked about this, that Matthew might have copied from what's the text that are the supposed apostles text. The apostles group wrote it. I can't think of the name of the damn text, but it's not considered canonical. But I think that got probably stolen. That's why we see in Matthew that baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, which is a Trinitarian kind of ideology.
You don't see any similarities between the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son, also with thought, feel, and action, or thought?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
they had philosophers that had multiple different versions that they were trying to appeal to the intelligence of the time of Rome, and I think there's good reason to go that direction because they had doctrine already of the logos of the logos being some type of, I don't want to say field. I guess it was in their ideology though. Zeno, I think, wrote about the logos. He's probably the first one that used the term the logos is God or theon, and he was of course referring to it being a part of Zeus and the Zeus pantheon, but he still used the term, right? That the logos or the word, like that there was this energy of by which it was a conduit that all things were created. So when
Uh,
like the book of John was using that in John 1:1, I think they're trying to appeal to Greek intelligentsia.
so
Intelligentsia.
Go
so
ahead.
so Nicholas just weaponized your agreement, Robert.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Yeah, he says, "Look, the atheists agree with you, Big Nick. You're on their side of the fence." That's that's wild to me that because someone agrees with you, you're more wrong.
Yeah. Like if it was true, they would have never needed to make it as a creed and kind of enforce it and call all these groups heretical. Like the fact that this was necessary is more, in my opinion, proof that it wasn't in the text and other people weren't seeing it in the text and they were seeing people struggle to try to make that in the text. Subsequently, yeah, they had to kind of make it a creed. They had to kind of make it decreed as heretical to speak against the Trinity and whatnot.
Yes, Nicholas, we understand that you're saying he's completely wrong. That's what I'm saying. You took someone agreeing with Big Nick and saying, "See, Nick, you're more wrong because someone agrees with you."
Right.
I find that hilarious. And it's all tribalism. Like it doesn't matter what Robert's saying. It doesn't matter what point if he's got any valid points. It's he's an atheist, therefore he's wrong. You agree with him, therefore you're wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's just a really bad argument.
Robert,
So,
when you say that word logos, can you spell that word?
from the Greek, well, you
Yes.
just look logos, but it's in the English it'll be logos, but from the Greek it'll be lambda, omicron, lambda, no, lambda, omicron, I don't know the Greek damn letters,
What is
but it's
that?
logos. It's it just meant word, but it had a connotation in the Greek, especially in philosophical circles, as being something more. But you can look up the history of logos and how philosophers use the term. If you want to run something through an AI, that's the good thing to do. Logos and how philosophers used it.
So Robert, you might know this. Did Ignatius of Antioch, and I don't think that's spelled correctly, and Justin Martyr claim Jesus was divine?
Probably divine, yeah. But as far as being God, no. I mean, we're divine. Yeah. Like, know ye not that we're counted as gods, right? There's a whole verse in this that we could be gods and that we could be in Christ. So it's not crazy to call humans divine.
I mean, I don't think there was ever a question of well, maybe there was in early Christianity, but I think there's a lot of, for the most of it, it was always clear that Jesus was divine, at least by the 2nd century. But that doesn't mean Trinity. Like there was other methods to become divine that they thought of.
Yeah, I mean, it's John does this. Like John is the primary one that's used as a basis for divinity to start with, and John does this in John 10 and 34, where he talks about like humans, other people can be I think the original, the KJV interprets as gods. Human beings could be gods, right? I think it's a bad interpretation, but I think saying that human beings can be divine is perfectly valid interpretation. I don't know. We can look at it in the NRSVU. I think that's the best one, and we can see what it says about the text.
Yeah, I just remember there being ideas that like Jesus, there was adoption, was adopted as a son of God, and that made him like a divine being beyond what a human was, but he wasn't born that way. It was something that came upon him later.
It came upon him. How did it look when it came up? No,
something like that, yeah.
No, it's weird because like the terminologies that most of the epistles and the writings used about Jesus, it's seen the person, the man, the flesh, as more of a vessel that was carrying the divinity inside of it. So when we get things, I think Ephesians is the one that said, "In him dwelt all the fullness of the Godhead bodily." It was the Spirit of God is dwelling inside of the vessel. So we get more of a cup and water scenario, like Jesus is the cup, the man, Christ Jesus, the Son, and then the embodiment of God, the Spirit inside of him.
You know, Nicholas Holier and the Big Nick, if you're still on the live stream, in my way of thinking, the way I see things now, it doesn't make any difference which one of you are correct or wrong. I think optimally you're achieving the same goal, which is feeling good with your belief about a God. So it doesn't matter which one of you is correct or not. Not really. Optimally, the game of believing is feeling. There's nothing else.
Apparently Big Nick is running, but Hersey's just showed up. Oh wait, no, she's probably a Trinitarian too. So
probably that's the majority.
Yeah, it's weird that Big Nick isn't, because he's always very, very vocal about it.
I don't know. I was both at one time. I was Trinitarian and oneness at different points. So,
Preaching?
Yeah.
Moving around your beliefs?
Yeah, I did. I moved from the Trinitarian position to the oneness before I left the churches, the Christianities, as Phantom likes to say, altogether.
What made you switch, Dada?
Well, whenever I switched from the Baptist to the Pentecostal, it was literally over the subject of the Trinity. It became more and more obvious to me the Trinity was a lie, an absolute lie, fabricated and fornicated into the scriptures.
So, I have a question for you, Robert.
Yeah.
When you were a Christian, what did you think the Holy Spirit was?
The Spirit of God. I thought.
Well, I mean, like, what was it, a separate being, or was it?
No, never thought of it as a separate being. Whenever I was Unitarian, originally, I didn't think much about it. I was very young whenever I was a Trinitarian originally, so never really gave a lot of thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I seen like Unitarian arguments about the Trinity and looking at the individual verses and how they were trying to like manifest this as different persons, the more it was obviously not true to me.
Sure. So I was raised Trinitarian. I never even heard any other options before I deconverted. So I was that's just what you are. You're a Trinitarian. But,
right.
Man, the Holy Spirit was never, like, it never seemed to me like it had any agency or was a person. It was more of a thing, like the Force.
Right. The Force. The dove that descends, commonly depicted as a dove.
Robert, when you were in the church, did you ever experience yourself supposedly the Holy Spirit, or saw someone else experience the Holy Spirit?
Oh, hell to the yeah. Many times, and in different ways, different from the Baptist to the Pentecostal. But still always felt like I felt God in all of it. But then whenever I felt God in the Trinitarian, in the Pentecostal, I thought, oh man, what I was feeling before, that was just a lie, man. That wasn't even God. That was so feeble. Like, this is intense and truly in the real God. Like, I felt that. So yeah. I felt like
Interesting.
everything I thought before was a lie. That was I thought I had the spirit. It was just I was just flirting with it. It wasn't in me.
Interesting. Um, Romans
And I
1,
always
Romans
ahead.
1 writes, "You're so delusional waters. How good was Job feeling? You're just embarrassing to listen to. Do you have psychology degree or just opinion?"
Man, I always hated the story of Job.
He met Job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Job.
I was hating that story.
Job,
Even as a
okay.
Christian, I was like, that is such a like seriously, God allows his kids to be killed, and then you know, we make you feel bad for a little bit, and then look, here's a brand new kids. Now you're whole again. I'm like, no, you still lost those kids. You're not whole. You still have half as many kids as you should have.
Yeah, well, it's a horrible story. This is for sure, but I think we're missing the bigger point here. He's still claiming Job like Job was an actual person and not a literary creation. So
Well,
there's nothing about Job in any other document but this book that writes about Job. There's no reason whatsoever to believe Job was anything more than a literary construction. So when you do things like, oh, you're lying because Job stayed faithful, it's like saying, well, everything you're saying is not true because Spider-Man also did XYZ. Like this is not in any way a convincing argument to say that someone was faithful to him in the story. Therefore, that's not why people are attracted to the religion.
In the case to respond to Romans 1 comment, Romans 1, I try to have a conversation with you and ask you questions. And I think that when you notice that this conversation, when you call one time, it was going to go back to your feelings, you started to evade. And I told you that you were not being honest. And that conversation stopped completely. We can pick up that conversation anytime you want, in my point of view. I don't know what you're saying about when you write, I would, but I told to have a good day and he was utterly rude. I don't know who you're referring to, Romans 1. You're always welcome to call anytime, express your views, your opinions, your beliefs. I don't cancel anyone unless you're being extremely rude or using profanity. I'm always open to have a conversation. So I don't know exactly what you're referring to as someone being utterly rude to you. And I confirm that if you believe in a God, you're doing it because of emotional reasons. There's nothing else.
I can clear up if I was rude. I apologize. It's never my intention to be rude, but it's also not my intention to step softly because I'm concerned with people's beliefs. So while it's not my intention to be rude to anyone, I'm not going to like sidestep beliefs that I think are poorly formed and have no basis.
I think that that is the main subject of this live stream. I think the message is quite clear, or at least I'm trying to make it clear about people choosing one of two pills: the truth about reality, or choosing to feel good.
oh,
Hopefully you saw the presentation at the beginning. Go ahead, Phantom.
I was going to say, it's blue pills and red pills, right?
Yeah, in the original.
What do you mean?
The pills, if your analogy is analogous to Neo making the pill choice inside of the Matrix, but in the Matrix it was a blue pill and a red pill. The blue pill was the actual reality, I think. Is that right? No, the red pill was the actual reality. You're right. And then the blue pill was like the lie of the Matrix.
Remember,
not that it matters.
Yeah, this is done by AI flop.
Sure.
Man, a while back, I used to do this. I tried to do these images by hand. It was awful.
Oh yeah,
until I find out AI, I'm like, man, that's it. I don't care if it's a flop or not. I'll just do it with AI. Takes like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
We are volunteer slaves.
I-
That's a contradiction in words.
yeah. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
It's all right. Brahmans one. I actually think that when you called in, you were extremely respectful. Even when we disagree with everything, you were very kind. At least that was my point of view and my experience when you called. Actually, you have called more than once. We don't have to
Was
talk
this-
about me thinking that behind beliefs in God is people's feelings. We can talk about something else, but I continue to believe that anybody that believes in a God is doing it because of emotional reasons. There's nothing else, not a single thing other than how you feel about life.
No, Nicholas, you can't. I refuse your questions. No, I'm
Nicholas
joking.
Holier,
Of course, you can ask me a
You're
question.
prohibited from asking Robert any questions.
Of course, hit me with it.
He should come in here and talk to us.
Yeah, come in.
Asking for
I'm not going to be
permission.
around a lot longer, but you just did. You just asked me a question.
That's your one question.
That's
As your questions, 45 minutes until we're done with this live stream. Oh,
I'm
I don't.
ready.
Babylon, talking about slavery.
Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall not be permitted. That's a double negative. But I'm sure it should be shall be.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. You're wrong on that because there's no shall be about slavery. So I think he's meaning something else. I think he's saying outright that it's not something that's textually prohibited. Maybe he misspoke. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe.
When you use double negatives, it's hard to tell what you actually meant. That's why people don't use double negatives.
There's your question, Robert.
Oh, that's easy. The Trinity struck again. I know this is crazy to say, but I actually left the Trinitarian church because of the Trinity, and then I left the Oneness church because of the Trinity. I know that that's a strange thing, but I left it because of a text, which is commonly referred to as the Johannine comma, which is a corruption of the text that says that there are three that bear witness in heaven, and it puts Father, Son, and Holy Ghost in the text that never existed in any textual tradition before about 1550. So this was the Trinitarian church that wanted the Trinity to be true so much that they openly corrupted the text, and they forced something in there that wasn't in any original. Subsequently, I seen the text and I tried to bring it to my pastor. And my pastor was of the mindset that the Bible was completely univocal and there was no contradictions. So my pastor didn't want to deal with why this verse is in there, but the history appears to show that it wasn't originally. So subsequently, the Trinity and how hard the Trinity pushes both led me away from the Trinitarian church and then away from the Unitarian church because it had corrupted the text and the people there wouldn't admit it.
And that didn't feel good to you.
Yeah. Fair enough. But I was one of those guys like, I want the truth, nothing but the truth. So I just reached a point where nothing mattered except for I wanted the truth. I wanted the bottom of this. There was
Isn't
also this. Go ahead.
No, it's interesting that, I mean, following data that you get, there's going to be some kind of feeling towards the data. And that the result of that feeling is what you're going to do next. Either stay or go, or continue believing or doing something.
Yeah. It was small changes.
Big Nick returns. He's been gone for like half an hour, but coming out swinging.
Went and have a discussion with AI, prepare himself.
Maybe so. I don't think Big Nick uses AI that much, to be honest.
I mean, I use it a little to look stuff up. I always try to go to the source text though before making any kind of statements, but I use it to find stuff that Google would be really hard pressed to find.
Mm-hmm.
What difference does it make if someone is Trinitarian or oneness?
Well, because one is turning people away from the faith, but on the other hand, the other is turning people away from the faith.
To answer Nick's question, early church fathers is a little bit loaded because you need to have a divisible line of where you're talking about. I think by 220, 230, Trinitarian ideals begin to resonate. I think by 320, they were full directional in the direction of the Trinity. Pre that and inside of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I don't think anyone had Trinitarian notions. And I think we've even had Trinitarian priests who have made comments about Mark and Matthew and outright said that they didn't think that the writers of Mark or Matthew had any notions of the Trinity whatsoever. So I think it's a post-biblical interpretation to try to find some reconciling terminologies. So they tried to create a framework that tried to reconcile and fix things that they didn't otherwise understand. Unnecessary, in my opinion, to try to understand them. The sentence doesn't make any sense. If they believed the Holy Spirit and Jesus were both divine, that they believed that the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, was God's spirit on the earth. That's what they believed the Holy Spirit was. So it's like, do they believe God was divine? Yeah.
The Big Nick follow Christ. What for? I ask. Maybe Christ is fixing something in your life. Something is broken. You need guidance. You're confused without Jesus Christ's guidance.
Imagine God lying about being God.
The Big Nick, the interesting thing is that whatever you're believing in reference to God, you could be wrong. Not only about one thing, about everything. Like Diva says, you will only find out once we all die. For now, you can only believe. That means that you could be wrong.
I want to make sure, Nicholas, that you're meaning filioque and the Son doctrine, or if you're saying philo and maybe just misspelling it. I take it you're talking about the Latin term for the Son.
I'm sure that's what he means.
Oh.
Oh, he corrected himself actually.
Oh, where did he? Let me see the correction.
The Big Nick says you could be wrong.
He spelled it correctly.
Okay.
You could be wrong isn't an argument, Javier. I'll take it as an opinion. You can take it whichever way you want. At the end, in my point of view, the only reason that you believe in a God is because it makes you feel good.
So
there's nothing else. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get off in the doctoral stuff, and because there's a subject like this is what you're talking about, but I keep getting lit off into this. But if you're okay with me addressing it, I will. So this filioque, or it seems like it had a filio. But anyway, this term from the Nicene Creed, that the Holy Spirit come from the Father. I think there was, if I'm not mistaken, the Orthodox Church had a disagreement with the Catholic Church about this when there was an adaptation. One of them, and I don't remember which group, said from the Father and the Son, and like it was enough to divide the groups. I don't remember who took what side as far as the Catholic or the modern kind of Orthodox Christian group, but I know there was a division over the subject from the Father, that it comes from the Father and the Son as opposed to from the Father as a terminology. The first creed, I think, the Nicene Creed originally didn't have the Father and Son, if I'm not mistaken. It just had Father. But I don't think any of it's relevant because I think it's all post-biblical. I think all of this creed is a representation of their allegiances to the ideal of the Trinity, and I don't think the writers of the Bible had any such notions.
The Big Nick writes, I don't respect your opinion, Javier. You haven't earned my respect. The Big Nick, imagine myself trying to get the respect from someone that believes there's an invisible God out there. Yeah, don't expect it. I'm not trying to get your respect. I do respect your opinions, your views, and your beliefs. And I look forward for some time in the future you come back to your senses and stop believing in invisible gods, which I don't think is good for yourself or for humanity.
Oh, I seen something from Big Nick. I just saw it just a minute ago. I'm trying to find it again.
Hersey
Oh, yeah.
98. Hersey 98 says, Javier, you could be wrong too. Absolutely, Hersey 98. I could be wrong by asking questions. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, Big Nick brings this one up, and I don't know how well read Big Nick is, or maybe he's just saw this verse. I don't know where he got it from, but Arius, which argued with the Trinitarian position, this was the primary verse that he used, is that the Father is greater than the Son, and that if he's greater than the Son, that there's a representation of hierarchy, which means that the Son can't be recognized as some kind of co-equal entity with the Father, like because the text says that he's greater. This is why Arius like died on that hill. He's like, no, the Trinity is wrong, and he wasn't going to let it go because of this text specifically. So it's a good text to bring up, Big Nick.
The Big Nick writes, I don't believe God is out there, Javier. You don't know what my beliefs are. So you don't believe in a God? Believing the truth sets you free is bad for humanity. Believing that an invisible God is real without any evidence or proof, I don't think is beneficial for anybody. Probably in an emotional way, yeah, you can use an invisible God to make yourself feel good about something that you have not been able to solve in your life. But I see it as a way of coping with some emotional issue or something like that.
Robert, did you know you are an atheist and have an opinion?
Oh, shoot. No. What should I do about it? Is there a treatment?
I'm here to tell you that is the case.
I don't know what to do about that.
Don't have opinions.
I'll try to work on that. I'll think about that. I'll meditate on that, and I'll see what I can do about it.
Okay, this is generally this is funny from Big Nick. Soup is co-equal to sandwich. Did you realize your lunch can be fully soup and fully sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's never heard of a wet sandwich.
It's the doctrine is so clear. Like when terms are used, like there's one spirit and one flesh, like, and we have other verses that says God is spirit and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. Like God is a spirit. There is only one spirit. Like this is so, the Bible is regularly not internally consistent about things, but like the Unitarian position is so constantly internally consistent that the Trinity is just, it doesn't have a leg to stand on, in my opinion. But I would love one day to debate somebody on the Trinity. I just think the Trinity is garbage.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no dog in that fight. I can kind of like get my head around it if I become an essential. If I think of it, put an essentialist thinking cap on, I can kind of get
Mhm.
okay. I kind of see where they're coming from with the Trinity, but it's, I mean, it's all nonsense in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's you have no way of saying this is why the debate's gone on for 2,000 years. You have no way of saying this is a true thing about this thing and this other thing is false. You can't do it. So you get what you end up is some people think this is true and some people think that is true, and they keep fighting each other over for 2,000 years.
You know, in my view, that creates drama. People like drama. Because if you think that the Trinity is garbage, what do you think about oneness? Wouldn't that be garbage too?
Yeah, no, the oneness ideal is just that there's only one spirit. Like there's represented in the entire text that there's only one spirit of an entity that's known as God. Like the man, the flesh and blood, Jesus, the Son, is simply an avatar, a person holding that spirit, so to speak. I literally, you can think of the movie Avatar, and sometimes you might call what I forget what the name of the avatar was, but you might call him Jake, right? But this
Sully.
is only right, Jake Sully, only in as much as like Jake Sully is inside of there. But now imagine Jake Sully's in there, but he's not as represented and fluidly. So would you still sometimes could you refer to him as Jake or Captain in some sense because inside of Jake was the spirit, right? Or inside of this body was Jake's essence, basically. Like this seems to be what's the case in the text, but I mean, I don't have a dog in the hunt. It's not. I don't think it's real either which way. I'm just saying textually in the story that seems to be the case.
So optimally, I'll ask you, Phantom and Robert, that someone believes in the Trinity and someone that doesn't believe in the Trinity and believes in oneness. Optimally, does it make any difference?
It's just trying to understand how the writers of the text understood that character. It's trying to understand how they understood the theology. That's all. Like it's like if we were arguing over something about a comic book, right? And we were arguing about what actually happened in a comic book. We don't need to believe that the comic book was true or representative of reality to disagree about a particular thing, and the majority to be on this side about like this is how it actually was written and this is what it meant.
If you engage in these conversations, wouldn't you run the risk of getting stuck in no clarification? Because who's right?
Oh, well, I think the best way to tell who's right is if you have biblical scholars that used to be Christian and they are no longer Christian, to get their consensus, since they don't have a dog in the hunt anymore, then it's just their critical assertion of, or their critical evaluation of the text. So I'll give you a primary example. Bart Ehrman, James Dunn, Jess Vermes, Pauline Fredrickson, Marcy Casey, John Domick, over and over and over. I guess the list 20 long here. They were Christian, they are biblical scholars, and they are no longer Christian. And all of them don't believe the Trinity was in the text. But it's because they don't have a position anymore that they have to back the Trinitarian ideal. So they're able to evaluate the text critically. And they, without a dog in the hunt, they can just say, look, they're projecting and they're pushing the Trinity into the text. So I think they're the best people to use. And I think it's pretty clear the Trinity's not there.
Do you
What
think
about Dan
that
McClellan?
Dan McClellan is actually still a theist, and he does number himself as a Christian, though he is a critical one. Most people in this conversation that are Christians over on the side would not consider him a Christian, though I think Dan does consider himself a Christian, though he is critical. And he is also against the Trinity. He doesn't think it's real.
do you think
I
do
mean, I
you-
figured because he's a Mormon.
do you think that it's possible for them to come to the conclusion and prove that the Trinity is not real?
In the text. it's possible to prove in some sense that it's not in the text, that people are simply projecting things into the text.
When you say the text, talking about the Bible?
Yes. There are particular scriptures that people might use and say, look, see what that's meaning is, and then they project something into it that's not actually being said there. And I think that's the bread and butter of like how the Trinity exists.
So I think in the case of Jesus Christ, I mean, the Trinity has to be important. For the believer in God, the Trinity is not important. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, I don't think as far as it's like I said, the anachronistic thing of an argument between two comic nerds arguing over like who won a particular fight in a comic book. Like, this is a stupid conversation. I agree, but there is an answer as to the writer and what their intentions are, right? I mean, at least we can agree that there is an intentionality from the writers, and I don't think there's any intentionality to represent a trinity from the writers.
Okay. I think that I don't know if it by mistake. I don't know if it's my mistake that I'm trying to move the page past the page as fast as possible about having these conversations, because there's another topic waiting for us, which is the believer. It doesn't matter if the Trinity is real or not, if the oneness is the truth or whatever. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, we're trying to achieve a goal. It has nothing to do with Trinities or oneness. It's something that is personal.
I agree, and I apologize.
The information and the data in the book is absolutely irrelevant. No. Robert, you don't have to. I think you illustrate, propose, and inform myself and everybody, from a different angle that I cannot myself do it. When I finish this live stream, I remember everything you say. I'm like, man, scratching my head. I had to look for stuff that you said. So this is a little bit of a school for me, from you and from Phantom and from other viewers. Almost every single live stream, I look for 2-3 words that I've never heard from you guys and look it up and expand my vocabulary a little bit. The Big Nick, Trinity is pushing people away from the faith because they assumed that Christianity means Trinity. Trinity is pushing people away from the faith because they assume that Christianity means Trinity. And how does that push people away?
I think he's arguing that because it is a contradiction, it pushes people away.
It's the primary objection for Muslims in my experience. So Muslims don't believe in the Trinity.
No, they don't. They believe Jesus was a prophet. The one I've heard more is that gods don't die. Like, that's just like that's the one I've heard.
They 100% reject the Trinity, but they're not alone. The Jews, the originals, they reject the Trinity. So they're like, absolutely, it's heretical. I don't think they use that term, but they say it's a lie. It's absolutely made up.
Which I don't know what Big Nick is arguing here. He's saying, well, I guess he's arguing that if Christians weren't Trinitarians, Muslims would become Christian. I don't think that's the case, but I think that's what his argument is. Tell Big Nick to refute Matthew 3:16. What is Matthew? Am I here still online? You guys are very
Yes.
quiet.
No,
Okay.
you're not here anymore.
Okay, I thought so. I figured the inchworm on the leaf stopped dreaming about me.
Big Nick writes, Muslims will more likely convert to the faith if they didn't think it was necessary to check their minds out and believe nonsense.
All right. In honor of Diva, who I think is left, I'm going to read this out of the NKJV. When he had been baptized, Jesus came up immediately from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting upon him.
Nicholas Hollier writes, Muslims reject Jesus' divinity just like a lot of oneness. I don't think this has to do with Muslims rejecting Trinity for any reason other than that's what the book that they read, follow, and believe says, and probably because of the culture. I don't think most believers are really thinking and reasoning this stuff about the Trinity or not. They just read a book. The information in the book feels good. They accept it, and that's it.
That's such a silly thing to say. Refute that. Like, there's nothing in that that suggests the Trinity. Like, it's not a single solitary word that even suggests the Trinity. And you're like, refute that. Like, what's
If I had to try to steel man
still mammy?
Okay, so Jesus is in one place, and the Spirit of God is in a different place.
Correct.
Therefore, they cannot be one person.
Right. That's because Jesus, the Son, the body, the man, is not a divinity. I know the text that says there's one flesh and one spirit. That's it. There's two components. No one ever argued there weren't two components. It's just that the flesh is a human person. You know, the one that died. And the spirit is the Spirit of God. Like,
I know. I'm just trying to steel man Nick. Oh, now we have to read 16 and 17.
This is my son in whom I will please.
Yep, and suddenly a voice came from heaven saying, "This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased." So now we've got God in three places.
Okay. Like God is omni, so I don't understand the problem.
Immutable?
Yeah. God is omnipresent.
Everywhere.
God is clearly always in the heavens, always. As far as his essence, his spirit on earth, like God is spirit. That's said over and over, that God is spirit. So when it says God's spirit, like, why should we think, oh, but this is a different one? Like, why would anyone think that? Anyway, it's all argument over a comic book, but
hey guys, I gotta go.
All right, man.
Thank you, Phantom. It's God's. The Big Nick writes, it's God's sandwich, not God's soup, but also both at the same time. The Big Nick, I think you forgot to add, if God is real. I think that will be more accurate. I don't know. I get this feeling. You know, Big Nick, one of the things that I have experienced as being a YouTuber, trying to speak clearly about us human beings, how we think, feel, and act. One of the things that I have encountered when I have tried to participate in debates or have conversations with believers is that somehow you think because you know these words and you have apparently engaged in these intellectual conversations. You're over in knowledge about life or God over someone like myself. I don't know. I get this feeling I could be mistaken. Probably I'm reading you wrong. I'm not trying to categorize you or nothing like that. But it seems to me, Big Nick, that the conversations is not in the book. It's not about God. It's not about the Trinity, the oneness. I think the conversation is about you and me. There's no other conversation to take place. And I noticed that people that talk very intellectually and choose to stay on the intellectual side of things are not interested in engaging in conversations that have to do about humans and about believers. And sometimes I wonder why. Probably there's nothing of value in those conversations for yourself, because probably it will move the drama away. It will shoo it away. And some people need these intellectual conversations in order to get some meaning about life, or maybe to get yourself in a position of higher, I don't know, higher position over other people that are not as smart as you, because you have some knowledge about God, some truth. This is one of the things, Big Nick, that I can see in some believers, that you get a little bit of distorted reality, putting yourself in pedestals or positions that for me are not real. It's just something that you put yourself in some place in your mind. But I still continue to think that the conversation, the real conversation, the conversation that has value, is about the believer, not about the God. I wonder what benefits you get from believing in this God that you believe, if you believe in a God. Probably there are no emotional rewards for you, but I could be wrong. Probably you think that God is real or there's a creator based on your intellects and logical conclusions, which I suspect that if I ask questions about your conclusions, we're going to find out that behind those logical conclusions is yourself and your feelings and nothing else. We still can have logical conversations, get into the details, but not ignoring the believer, the one doing the believing in the God. And in my point of view, the one keeping the God alive.
Yeah, I think there's this weird question, Javier, that I've said that I don't think anybody's at a state of being able to deconvert or like question whether they're thinking right or wrong if they can't answer the question. If you've seen the truth or your position, your belief of God are two separate things, which one would you pick? And if somebody can't answer that question, there's no way that they can wake up. It's like they're eternally in sleep. So when people ask, well, the truth and God are the same thing, like that's it. There's no way they could wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck in it. It's only when they make a recognition that whatever they think God is it's not the thing itself, it's their understanding or belief of the God, and that may be wrong. So if they recognize that could be wrong, and what it really is their belief in the God and a thing that is like true. Like, so the truth versus their thing, that their belief, which one would you seek after? Which one's more important? And until they can answer that question honestly and say the truth is more important, I think their chances of waking up is zero.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. I think that if your life, emotionality, or your emotions in life depend on this God, and that's how much emotionally attached you are in the God, of course, you're not gonna accept anything else other than believing that the God is true. Oh boy. Right. Hey, Clearwaters. I do want to give flowers to Phantom and Robert. I stopped calling in because these guys say what I want to say and so much more. And they say it way better than I could. Love it. Thank you, oh boy. Thank you so much for your comment. And I totally 100% agree. The Big Nick, Javier projecting hard tonight. Javier is angry at God but has to intellectualize it as God doesn't exist because our alternative presents too many difficult emotions. I don't know what you're talking about, the Big Nick. I have not concluded that there's no God. I don't know. I would think that you could say something more that sounds more like an argument, Big Nick.
But
Instead
you're
of
angry with
just,
God, though.
yeah,
Javier.
just saying that I'm angry with God. What happened with the intellectual Big Nick? Come on, you can do better than that, my friend. That was like an attempt to do what? To get me in a negative field state?
I've told you before, I don't think it's like, I don't know that it's all that. Remember when I was talking about the Santa Claus movies? Like
Yes.
the method that they use?
Mhm.
Like what they do with the Santa, and I dare y'all watch a Santa Claus movie that is geared towards children that doesn't do it. Every single one, I'm convinced, does it. So what they do is they have an explanatory value to the kid as to why older people don't believe in Santa. It's what they do. So whether it's Miracle on 34th Street or whether it's the Scott Calvin Santa or any Santa Claus things, there's a narrative that is driven constantly that the adult or the older kid, that they're angry because they didn't get a gift or because something happened. And we know, since we're adults, we know that's not actually what's going on, that the parent is jaded against Santa Claus, that they just grew up is what we know. But like the children don't know that. So when they're watching this in entertainment, this is a way to create retention in them and say, oh, that explains why. And then they use it to their older brother or their dad. Oh, this is why they don't believe in Santa, right? Because they're angry because they didn't get a gift. And it internally, it justifies why people don't believe in Santa to the child.
What if, let me see if I understand correctly. What do you think, for example, the parent telling the kid that Santa Claus exists?
Well, I
Is
mean,
that,
that happens sometimes, but that happens a lot. I mean, the majority. But older brothers and older siblings will regularly be the ones that run into this conversation with the younger child. And like the older brother will be like, grow up, Santa's not real or something like this. And does that make
okay.
sense? So
Yes.
now the child has to have an internalized method of rectifying why maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's older kids at school or whatnot.
Okay.
Why don't they believe in Santa Claus? And when the shows can justify it away as, oh, they're just angry or they didn't get a certain present or they're upset with Santa. So that's their way to justify it that kids' retention stay high.
So to take this a little bit apart, what would you think is behind motivating the person, the older brother telling the younger brother that Santa Claus doesn't exist?
Two things. Sometimes they're just assholes, and sometimes, perhaps, just like us, maybe to some degree, that they think they know something that the other one doesn't, and that there's some sense of gratification in the revelatory nature of it to say, I know something that you don't know. Why do you believe something that's so silly? And kind of rub it in their nose a little bit. So there may be some joy in that for the older sibling to say, I'm bigger than you and know things that you don't know yet.
You don't think that there's an attempt to make the younger brother feel bad?
Yeah, sure, sometimes. Yeah, many times. Brothers, especially older brothers sometimes can suck. It happens. But I think it might be more about, I know things that you don't know. And they just don't care about the emotional damage of that individual, only the gratification that they get.
You know something, Robert? One thing that I noticed is that we do these things of getting people in a lower state, in a lower or negative feel state, or a little bit negative feel state, because it can put us ourselves in a more positive feel state by having someone around us that feel less than us.
Yeah.
It happens when someone works in a restaurant and they're looking for someone that is fat,
Yep.
you know, and they go like, oh, look at that guy, he's fat. So they're trying to make themselves feel better by bringing something in comparison in a negative perspective.
Yeah.
So this is what I understand when people, believers in the live stream, do these things of trying to get away from having this conversation about these beliefs and then try to get into some kind of attack. Yeah, I call it attack. It's not an attack, you know, but trying to get something in an emotional level and bring it down a little bit in order for themselves to feel better. I told Javier Stinky Waters. Some of the comments to my videos that I put out, people call me old, ugly, or confused, and not really trying to talk about the message that I'm putting out on the video. So I think people do it consciously or unconsciously, try to bring someone in a negative feel state in order for themselves to get into a positive feel state.
I try to generally give people the benefit of the doubt, but this is a very well-known phenomenon. Schadenfreude is what it's called. I don't think there's an English word for it. I think that's a German word, but that's basically pleasure from other people's unhappiness, to derive pleasure from it. It's a very well-known phenomenon. It's very documented inside of religion. I think it was Tertullian. I might be wrong on it. I think it was Tertullian that talked about the pleasure of looking over from heaven and seeing all those that rejected it burning in fire. Like the idea that this would make him happy to see those people who rejected the religion, for example. These things are examples of what we call Schadenfreude. I don't know the total psychology of like how it makes people feel better, but I know it's a thing and it's been going on a long time.
You don't see the similarities of what I'm describing about the feel states?
Yes, absolutely. No, I do. That's what I'm talking about. The people are made, they are gratified, they feel better by making other people feel worse. Like that happens. That's a very documented thing. Or just making them feel like they're not as intelligent. There's like this kind of braggadocious, I'm intelligent, I know things you don't know. I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm guilty of it, you know? So it's definitely a thing. There's also another, I guess, related term. I think it's crab theory or crab mentality. I think you could probably pull it up with, but is to get ahead. It's to step on people to get ahead. I think it's probably similar motivations like Schadenfreude.
Okay, before we finish the live stream, because we have like 4 more minutes. Did you just accept that you sometimes do this? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think so. I probably do.
I'm saying that we all do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason
I'm only human.
The reason that I do these live streams is because I'm getting myself from a negative feel state to a positive feel state.
Sure.
We do it with everything. I think that the part that is not very good if you come into conclusions just because you're moving from one state to another and staying there, concluding that something feels good and not asking questions, not trying to look for evidence. If you know what I mean. I mean, we all doing it all the time with work, relationships, live streams, thoughts, everything. We do it. I think if we would have more conversations about this, especially when it comes to believing in gods, we can continue and move forward and take it also to politics. So we don't fall for this crap about believing in politicians. and making the same mistakes every 4 years.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's such an uncomfortable place for people to talk about this, though, that like, you'll probably even see numbers will disappear and begin to wither up and float away as these conversations become more real.
Your comment, Robert, is absolutely accurate, because that's one of the reasons, believe it or not, I continue using God in these live streams. Because if I take this whole conversation and put it entirely talking about humans and how we process information, how we feel, how we act, I think I'm gonna drop half of my viewers.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm starting to learn and see it over and over on every live stream. Believers don't want to engage in these conversations. They don't want to talk about themselves and about their feelings toward God. I suspect that they unconsciously or unconsciously know where this is going, and they don't want to be any part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all a little guilty of it. No matter, how religious or unreligious we are, we might be very well adjusted people, and we still have some discomfort with even saying that maybe free will in the strictest sense isn't exactly what we think it is, or isn't real. And then secondly, the idea that like we're riding the waves of whatever's coming. Like we're moving from feel state to feel state because how it makes us feel. To some degree, we're a serf to that. We're a serf to the circumstances and the things that are coming into our life, and nobody wants to say that. That's uncomfortable.
I think that somehow in society we were programmed not to talk about our feelings, and I suspect that was done on purpose, because feelings could be probably more important than thoughts and actions, because without feelings, you don't do anything with thoughts. And actions would not happen if you don't have feelings. So something probably, sometimes I think about that this talk and conversations about feel energy was done on purpose. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about other things, but let's not talk about this energy that we don't understand. I think there's nothing shameful. I think it's Crypto Lee. I don't know if he's still on the live stream. Every time Crypto Lee talks to me about what I'm referring to as feel state, he called it like the feel good. He puts it in a way that I don't think we're talking about the same thing. He puts it in a way that, there's nothing wrong with feeling good. I'm not talking necessarily about feeling good. I have to find another word for this energy. I call it probably mistakenly feel. It should be called something else, because people are understanding or getting confused when I'm explaining about feel states. I'm talking about this energy that we're using every day, every minute of our lives, to give meaning to our life in order for us to continue walking. If we have no feel energy in our lives, nothing's going to happen. We're not going to take action on anything. And these conversations we got to have, because that's how we end up believing in gods, through this process.
I have overstayed my welcome already a little bit, because I generally get off, but I didn't want to leave during that. I appreciate everything. I'll let you wrap it up and all. I'm going to jump though.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Everybody,
Appreciate
y'all
you.
take care. Later.
Thank you. All right, it's been 3 hours. Thank you so much, everybody. I can tell that it's been 3 hours because the music stops exactly at 3 hours. So I don't know if anybody learned anything with my presentation, with my humble presentation about the topic about the human being and how we attach value to data in order to take action in this life. You do nothing with data, with thoughts, with information if you don't have feel that drives your action. And that is how you end up believing in a God. That's how we end up choosing our spouses. That's how we end up choosing our politicians. We must have these conversations about us humans, especially when it comes to believing in gods. Because once we understand this process of feel energy, or whatever name this thing is, probably you're gonna stop believing in God once you understand the process. Getting knowledge probably is not gonna get you to feel good. And I think that's what you're trying to avoid when it comes to the beliefs in gods. So, I don't know, probably tomorrow I'll do another live stream talking about how we feel about, I don't know, Allah or Oludumare, or how we feel about, I don't know, Voodoo or Santeria or the God of the Bible. I don't know, some AI God. But these conversations we ought to have in order to move as humanity, to continue exploring, moving. The gods are not going to do it. Remember, the gods want you in the book. Read the book, seal it. Don't be exploring, don't try to be smart. Just read the book. Never gonna get too smart by reading the book. Sorry, my opinion. All right, guys, everybody, thank you so much. The Big Nick, Amos 1, Professor Hazel, of course, Skeptic Philosophy, Robert, Phantom, thank you so much. Oh boy, Crypto Lee, Ursay 98, Amos 1, and I want to say all your names. Thank you so much for participating in this live stream. Even when I don't agree with some of you, I think we're capable to keep it respectful. But it's important to have these conversations. Out of Babylon also, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night and have a great day tomorrow. See you tomorrow night.